With snow already falling, you may notice increased traffic at your bird feeder. Who's stopping by? And how can you best support your local bird population throughout winter? We're talking all about feeding our feathered friends today on Bird Notes. Hello, Vermont. I love that little tweet. In Burlington, all over Vermont, the first snow of the season came unexpectedly with leaves still on the trees, and it certainly kickstarted my thinking about winter. So it is great to have Mark LaBarr here right? We're sort of essentially continuing our conversation about bird feeders that we started last month. So hello.
How are
Happy to have you here.
I'm doing well, thanks.
Yeah, good. So how are things going at the bird feeders in your yard?
So, it's interesting when you think about bird feeding, and we're right on the cusp of when folks should put bird feeders out. Wait until December 1st.
Really? Wait, I thought in October last month we were talking about it's about time to put your bird feeder out.
Right, but the thing is that especially people that have bears, you want to make sure those animals are tucked away. And not near your feeder. So there can be some bird feeding done, say in Burlington or something like that.
Okay, so my neck of the woods, I'm still safe. I have my bird feeder up.
If you're but it's getting more and more that bears are showing up everywhere now too. So
I know.
You have to be very conscious of that.
Yes.
So usually the 1st of December, you can start doing that out. Check with the Vermont Fish and Wildlife website. If it's a warm December, sometimes you push it back. But again, with the weather as it is,
it's feeling frosty. We're getting some early snow, so save time. Go ahead, think about those birds.
Well, one of the things too is think about cleaning your feeders.
Okay, now, and this is something when you and I were chatting just before, and you did make an offhand mention to cleaning the bird feeder, and I was like, note to self, one more thing I don't know.
So 1 part bleach to 4 parts water.
Okay.
And clean those feeders before the season starts.
Okay.
Potentially you clean them at the end of the season, and then once a month during the the season during the winter, if you can bring them in and give them a quick scrub, it just keeps things clean. And
okay. What are we worried about?
Things like salmonella and avian conjunctivitis that can be really...
I was like, mold? No, it's apparently worse than that.
Yeah. Okay. So that because you're concentrating birds, these things can negatively impact the birds that are there.
Yeah.
And so you want to keep things clean.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is good. All right. Look at this. As we've just started, and I already know. Note to self: 1 part bleach, 4 parts water. Here is my task for this afternoon or this weekend. Something I'm going to be working on. All right. So I've been still overcoming my inner Californian, and I am. Last month I was astonished to learn there was a season for when you put out the bird feeders. Now I know this month we're going to talk a little bit more about different types of bird feeders, and that's a great one. I don't know anything about types of bird feeders, so.
So some people will feed all summer long and stuff like that, but at the Audubon we tend to take our feeders down, put them back up in the winter. When you're talking bird feeders, you're talking, this is your standard bird feeder here.
This looks very similar to what I have in my yard.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
It has a perch for the birds. You can see the seed level in there, so you know when to feed it, fill it rather. It's protected a little bit by that roof, but it does have some drawbacks. These are, especially the wooden ones, a little tougher to clean.
Okay.
And things can get wet and frozen out there. So, so it's a good starter bird feeder, but it has some challenges. Now you can upgrade a little bit, and you can have a regular standard feeder like this. This one has suet containers on either side of the feeder. Now,
so those are those little boxes on the side. And what is suet?
Suet is basically fat. And it's often when you buy it at the store,
and it's mincemeat pies. There we go.
Right, and sometimes it has seed in it. Sometimes it has cracked corn, but it attracts your woodpeckers, your nuthatches, things that your chickadees will use that. Things that might not necessarily be drawn to the seed, but they'll take advantage. So if you want to bring in more birds, you want to have a variety of foods out there for them.
And we can put a variety of foods into some of even the standard feeders, right? So I go and now actually, here's a good question. Where should I be going and getting bird seed?
You can get bird seed pretty much everywhere.
I tend to go to
some of the home gardens,
like
home garden stores.
Right?
And at the center, we feed primarily black black oil sunflower seeds.
Okay.
In the seed feeders, just because they have a high fat content. They're a little more expensive. The lesser, kind of seed mixes will often have less black oil sunflower
more millet and things like that.
Right, cracked corn, and a lot of times that just ends up on the ground.
Okay, or with the squirrels. I know we're going to talk about like the different bird feeders that are designed to help keep the squirrels out. I do have a lot of squirrels encroaching.
And this is one. So this is an interesting one here. You can't really see it, but we have one of these at the office, and right now the perch is supporting those birds, and it can be adjusted. But if a squirrel gets on it, it covers up the food.
Okay.
So the squirrel can't access that.
Yes. I guess technically my bird feeder does have this function. We noticed that they're pretty wily. Those squirrels will seem to be able to figure it out.
You know, squirrels are daunting. It's a daunting task. At our feeder, they'll often sit on top of that feeder and reach over and grab seed.
Yes, I've seen some great squirrel acrobatics. They can kind of whack it around until the seed falls out.
But that feeder can also be adjusted so that it'll close for some of the heavier birds like jays.
Yes.
So you don't necessarily get cleaned out by jays. So if you want to keep your chickadees and some of the smaller birds, that feeder might be a good one for you.
Okay, all right, good. Okay, so now, and then we've also got a tube feeder.
Yeah, so this is probably generally one of the easiest feeders to have. It's easy to clean, made out of plastic.
Because of its
plastic,
okay.
right?
You can empty
you
it.
don't have any corners or anything like that. Relatively cheap. Again, you can see the food in there, so you know when to put more in. And it's pretty standard at most feeder stations to have at least one tube feeder out there. Now the limitations with the tube feeders, and here's one, with a pesky squirrel trying to gain access. But the perches for these tube feeders are often small.
Yeah, I was noticing that, and therefore it's going to mostly attract smaller birds.
Smaller birds. You're not going to get your cardinals necessarily, or your blue jays, because they can't perch on that tube feeder. So you're going to get your finches, your chickadees, goldfinches, things of that nature that will tend to show up to you more.
Okay, so protecting fish, and then how about then for our larger birds? Larger birds, we have one that has more of a platform?
Yeah, so this is a platform feeder, and this one's good because this one has a roof on it. And platform feeders, it snows, and so those feeders collect snow and everything like that. It gets messy. So your bigger birds can access this, your jays, your cardinals, as well as the smaller birds. But with a platform feeder like this, unless you have it, and this one's on a pole here, which probably limits access to the platform by squirrels. So this is something you want to put, away from where a squirrel could jump or have some kind of baffle on the setup, so that the squirrels can't access it, because they'll just sit there and...
We have to do a little more engineering, dig a hole, stabilize it a little bit, but it's a good way to keep
It's a good way to get mourning
out.
doves will come into that, some of the bigger birds. So that's a good one to have if you can figure out a way to keep the squirrels off it.
All right, so we started talking about different types of feeds, and so we know the black oil seeds are sort of a good all-around feeder.
Black oil striped sunflowers as well.
Seeds too.
Sunflower seeds,
but then there are other birds that have particular types of dietary preferences, and so there's special feeders that are for them particularly?
Yeah, so birds like your goldfinches, which you can see here. Things later in the winter we might get red poles. They like Niger seed, which is a very small seed.
Yeah, it's like akin to a mustard seed
it's
or an
narrow,
Agella seed.
And so you have to have a feeder that has very small holes to keep it from spilling all over the place.
Okay.
And
so this one is specially designed for that, to bring those tiny little goldfinches. Look how beautiful they are.
Yeah, and you'll get, if you have like goldfinches around or red poles, you'll get a number of them on the feeder at the same time.
Okay. This
and
one's
then
cute.
of course there's you go into a garden store or someplace that sells feeders, and there's an array of different feeders you could put out there, and squirrel proofing things, and feeders for squirrels. And this is just a fun one I saw because, you know, it's a peanut feeder.
Yeah.
So you do have the opportunity to, again, feed something like jays if you're inclined to do that. And sometimes if you provide something like this, it'll keep some of the larger birds away from the seed the smaller birds are going to.
Right, so you kind of diversify the menu. Put out a buffet.
That's put out a buffet. That is exactly right. That is
right.
the best way to approach it.
Yeah, well, okay, and so obviously, one of the joys of having a bird feeder is to see who stops by.
Correct.
So tell us about some of your favorite visitors.
You know, it's funny, I do a lot of work and sometimes work with students and high school students, and I'll say, you know, who's a bird watcher out there, and nobody raises their hand, and then they say, who's got a feeder, and you know, most of them raise their hands. Do you watch the bird? You're a bird watcher.
Yeah.
So feeders oftentimes are an introduction for a lot of people to birding. And one of my favorites, they come, you know, this is the standard bird at my feeders, and what we find up is the black-capped chickadee.
Very sweet.
A really hardy bird that will come around to your feeders. You know, oftentimes you'll have a number of them at a time. They feed a little different than, say, those goldfinches, which will hang out on the feeder and eat. Oftentimes black-capped chickadees will come in, grab a seed, and then they'll take it away in order to access the seed and get at the heart of it. A relative of the golden-winged warbler, of the black-cap, I've been having too many other discussions about birds, is the tufted titmouse. So this is a relative.
Very sweet little bird.
Yes, and what's interesting about the titmouse is, you know, 20 years ago, we didn't have a lot of titmouse at the, here in Vermont. At Huntington, we didn't have any. And this is a bird that really has profited in many ways from having a winter food source. And so their range is kind of expanded, could potentially be due to bird feeding. And so, always a great, always great to see those. Birds that I've been seeing around, these tend to be ground feeders. So this is a junco,
we only have about
junco.
1 minute too, just so you know.
And these are birds that you'll see all winter. You often see them feeding on the ground, though. They'll often be there to pick up the stuff that falls on the ground, or if you're feeding specifics or have a platform feeder.
Let's look at this last acrobatic bird.
And then, of course, we've got the upside-down bird, the white-breasted nuthatch.
This is the one I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for all winter.
And this is one that, you know, having that suet feeder is going to bring that in. Now, you can have suet feeders that are attached to a feeder like we saw. Or you can get them individually. You know, just a basket that you can put a seed in, and then hopefully you'll have the white-breasted nuthatch show up.
This is great. Okay, good. All right. I hope everyone has their to-do list. I have mine. Mark, thank you. Can't wait for you to come back again so we can have our next conversation. If you have a bird-related question, be sure you take a picture. Can't do identification without a picture, and then send it to Mark. His contact info is right there on the screen. And can't wait for you come back next month. Thanks for joining me. As always, Vermont, thank you for learning and exploring with me today, and thanks to the team that makes Across the Fence possible. I'm Amy Finley. This is Across the Fence. Come back and let's learn and explore again tomorrow.